Hey guys, I'm Nick, and on this episode of the Scran line I'm going to show you guys how to make sponge kisses. Some of you might know them as powder puffs, but here we call them sponge kisses. So first thing I want to show you guys is the ingredients. So I've got some castor sugar here, which is super fine sugar. I've got some self-raising flour. I've got some icing sugar, which is like powdered sugar. I've got 3 eggs. I've got some raspberry jam, which is homemade, and later on I'm going to show you, I've got some cream which I'm going to whip up and we're going to put in these little cake thingies. So this is what they look like. Basically just like a nice little round sponge cake with a bit of jam and cream in the middle. Really super simple to make and so quick. Like you can make these so quickly. You know, if someone calls you in the morning for morning tea or whatever, make them, take them over, they'll be a massive hit. Okay, so first thing we need to do is we're going to separate the egg whites from the yolks. And the reason we're doing this is because we're going to whip up the, that probably didn't work, we're going to whip up the egg whites, and we're actually going to use the egg yolks, but they're going to come in a bit later on. So for those of you who don't know how to separate eggs, basically crack the egg open, just like that, put that on the side. So there's a little crack there, just put your fingers in very carefully, crack it open. See, you can see the egg yolk is, the white is kind of coming out already, so we just want to kind of play a bit of ping pong with the egg yolk in the shells. And yep, see that cracked. Now, if that happens and you get a little bit of yolk in that egg white, so many people say that your egg whites won't whip up, but I think it's savable. I think you can, if you can get that egg yolk out using the eggshell, a clean eggshell that doesn't have egg yolk on it already, then I think you can save your egg whites. Just be careful and take your time, really there's no rush. Okay, so we've got our whites and our yolks separated. Now, what we're going to do is, you could do this by hand, it's really up to you, but I'm going to use my mixer. Make sure that your bowl is clean, that's very important, because if there's any oil in there, then the whites aren't going to whip up and they're very, just make sure it's clean. We're going to put our castor sugar in here. So first what we'll do is, do this properly. We're just going to break up those egg whites, get them foaming up a little bit, and this is basically like making a meringue. So we're just going to get those whipping up a little bit, and very slowly add your castor sugar. Now, why do we add it slowly? Because if you add it all in one go, then you don't give the sugar a chance to kind of dissolve in the egg white. If you do it slowly, it dissolves better. And I mean, you don't want to eat, you know, if you're making a pavlova, you want it to be nice and smooth and marshmallowy. You don't want bits of grainy sugar in there. So I'm just adding it a little bit, letting it mix. Okay, so we've added all of our sugar. So just let that whip up. Now you can see in there that that's, you know, that's really a ribbony stage. You're kind of looking for volume. You want it to almost double in size. So just let it whip and do its thing. If you're doing it, you can use a hand mixer, that'd be, you know, just as good. Now what I did forget to mention was that I've got a baking tray here, and I've just got some baking paper on there. With these sponge kisses, it doesn't matter what you do, they're going to stick. So what I'm going to show you in a sec is we're going to get some of our powdered sugar, icing sugar. We're going to sift it on there before we spoon our sponge kiss mixture onto that paper. And that way I found it doesn't stick, and even if it does, it doesn't stick as much. So we've kind of got a bit of volume there. we do want it to be, I mean, it's still really soft piece. Just want a little bit more, and then we're going to add our yolks in. Okay, now I'm going to put this down to low because we just want to add our yolks in. So I just want to let that slowly incorporate. We don't really want to lose that volume. It's really important that we keep that volume. Okay, now it's very important when you're using these mixers to make sure that you scrape the sides because it doesn't really catch the sides very well, and also the bottom. Make sure that that bottom is mixing in properly. Just put it back on for a couple small seconds and let that mix in. Okay, so that is pretty much done. So we finished using our mixer. Okay, so I've been scooping a couple of these. Now, I'm just going to show you guys that, so you want to put a little bit of icing sugar on the tray and put like a generous amount so that they don't stick. Okay, so I'm going to use a little scoop, it's a small scoop, and just want to scoop a little bit over and just put them on. Now you want to space them fairly apart from each other, otherwise they'll stick, they'll spread and they'll kind of morph together, and that's not what you want. So I'm just going to do a couple on this tray because I've already done a couple, and for some reason the camera wasn't recording, so alright, now there's 4. Okay, now I've got the oven preheated on 220 degrees. We're going to put these in for 2 minutes because that's all it takes for them. They're just a sponge cake mixture, so it doesn't take very long at all. And while these are cooling down, I'm going to show you guys, well, what they look like when they come out and how to whip your cream if you don't know how to whip cream. Okay, our sponge kiss cakes, or whatever you want to call them, we're in the oven for 2 minutes. Now, notice, I mean, this one here browned a little bit, but the rest of them stayed nice and white, which is what you want. You don't want them to brown. If they brown, they just go, they're not spongy and soft. So that's what you want. Now, let them cool down a little bit, but I'm just going to show you guys. Because we put the sugar down, look how easily they just come off. Nice and easy. Now, they're a little bit wet at the top, but that's okay. What we're going to do is, we're actually going to put our icing sugar on now, and that way when you're actually peeling them off, they won't stick to your hand too much. So a little bit of help from the icing sugar. Okay, so we've got those done. So what comes next is the cream. Okay, so while the sponge kisses are baked, we're going to do the cream. Now I had my metal bowl and my cream in the fridge, and the reason I did this is because when you're whipping cream, you want everything to be nice and cold. It whips up beautifully. So we're just going to pour our cream into our nice super clean bowl, which is very important. We're going to, now you can do this by hand, it takes a little bit longer, or we can do it with a hand mixer. I'm just going to do it with a KitchenAid today just so it's a little bit quicker. And before we do that, I'm just going to sift in about a teaspoon of this sugar, the icing sugar. Not too much because you don't want it to be too sweet. I mean, with sugar and cream, the sugar can actually be very strong in it. So you can put vanilla in this if you want, I'm not really fussed. So we want this to whip up to soft peaks, not kind of like in between soft peaks and hard peaks. Make sure you don't over whip it, because everyone knows you over whip cream, it turns into butter, and that's not what you want. Okay, that is what we want. Not soft, but not hard. Kind of like an in-between. Perfect. So it's not super hard. You want it to stay soft because you want this to be kind of delicate and, you know, really, really nice and when you bite into it. Alright, so we've got our cream done. We're going to grab a spoon and we're going to grab our jam. Okay, so we've got our cream done. We've got our jam here ready with a knife, and we've got a spoon. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn these over. Okay, you can do this really, how you want. As long as you get your jam in there and your cream, then we're just going to spread our jam onto that little cake. You can do it on both sides if you want. I like the jam, so I like to do it on both sides. Now, if you actually make these the day before, they go really soft and they kind of soak in the cream and the jam, and it's just like really amazing. Some people prefer them fresh. They're really delicious when they're fresh, but actually, I don't mind them when they're a day old. They're actually really, really young. So if you make some and there's some left over, just pop them in the fridge, cover them with Glad wrap, of course, and then have them whenever you feel like them. Okay, so I'm just going to do these 6. Well, they're going to make 3. We've got our cream here, which is nice and beautifully whipped. Just pop it on. It kind of reminds me of scones. We used to make scones when I was in school, and they were really delicious. Okay, we've got our cream on there. How easy is that? It's like an English/Aussie macaron with cream and jam. Like, it does not get simpler than that. And you know what? Seriously, guys, make this. It is so it's so easy to make, and it's really delicious. So that is my recipe for sponge kisses. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this recipe. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. I've got heaps of awesome videos coming up for you guys. I've got the links to my Facebook page and my Instagram. Check my Instagram link out. I've got some random photos on there, but it's all good, it's all fun. Anyway, so I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. I've got the recipe down below. And stay tuned for more, guys.